Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Hi, Rob Browne here with you on this Friday morning. A lot to talk about, a lot of stuff happening right now. We got a great lineup as always. We do this at least 25 times a month, over 300 times a year. Repetition is the mother of all skill. That's what we do. We're over here at the Cherry Farm right now, right outside of Memphis, before we head back over across the bridge into the River City. Tommy Kane over in Atlanta. We're going to talk some ACC football, basketball. Coach John Brady will check in with us in the second segment. We'll talk with him, some SEC basketball. Hour number 2, we got the Texas duo, Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America, and Bo Carter, National Football Foundation out in Dallas. And Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline will be on with us. Look, we do this 6 days a week. We love doing it, 8 to 10 a.m. Central. So buckle up, strap it on, get ready, because there's, again, a lot going on here in this weekend of college football. Tommy Kane, you're over in Charlotte now. That is ACC country. My son Wilson lives over there. I'm not sure if he ever goes to sleep. He's working in private equity and investment banking. Had him on a conference call with some guys about something a couple of nights ago, and I was like, man, that kid's smart. They're teaching him a lot in the Louder Hall Harvard College of Business Management at Auburn. By the way, what is the College of Business at NC State named, and what is the name of the College of Engineering? Because I know they have an incredible – that's a school a lot like Auburn, and I'm going somewhere with this, but what's the name of the College of Business and Engineering?
You're going to put me – why you put me on the spot like that first thing in the morning, Rob? Come on now.
It's 9 o'clock.
You know how long it's been since I've been on that campus?
Yeah. No, but they've got Charlotte is – I mean, he's like – Dad, Charlotte is unbelievable. I mean, he's been there, God, since January. So, but absolutely loves it. But Tommy, this ACC basketball season coming up, you got football right now. You got the World Series. The Braves went out quickly. I didn't want to talk about it. That was rough. Billy Roberts, my friend over in Atlanta, went to Auburn with me. My roommate said that format of having to sit the bats for a week needs to be changed.
It was terrible, Rob.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about the 3 winningest teams or the 4 winningest teams in baseball, I think it was 4, I know it was 3 at least, all playing in that first week. I mean, sitting out that weekend and having to play, and they go 1-12. They win 1 game out of 13 games. It was ridiculous. I mean, so obviously something is not right with that formula. So I hope MLB always seems to be kind of tweaking the playoffs and making it kind of work the best. They got rid of the 1 wild card game thing and playing game, but they need to do something. I mean, it was just, the Braves played some inter squad scrimmages, but that's not the same. I mean, it was live pitching and everything else, but it's not the same. It's you get in the rhythm of the crowd and the fans and everything else going on. And it was just a shame. I mean, look, hats off to the Phillies. They were playing good when they played the Braves. They were bombing the ball out of the park every other batter. But you got Texas and Arizona and the Diamondbacks in the World Series. If you would have gone to Vegas at the beginning of the year and put money on that being those 2 teams being the World Series, you'd be a very wealthy person right now because nobody predicted that. And that's baseball. Look, we love it, but man, the Braves had such a good season, and to have them play out like that is just. I thought it was an injustice, if you ask me.
Well, it's frustrating because you have a season where you hit, I think, more home runs than ever before, and you had how many guys with 40 or more home runs, and then you had a guy steal 65, 70 bases. The regular season, it's incredible, and it just goes like that. In a matter of, that was very frustrating, but goes to show maybe they can reduce it by 15 or 20 games, but you're talking revenue. I mean, the tax revenue that brings in, it's immeasurable. So
it is. I mean, being that this, Rob, you've been to good games down there. I mean, the Braves sell out almost every single game all year round. I mean, it's very rarely, maybe on a Tuesday or Wednesday night when school starts, the stadiums aren't packed, but I mean, and they just did a fantastic job with that whole Truist Park and the whole the Battery down there and all the places you can go eat and hang out now. I mean, if it's a 7 o'clock first pitch, you can go down there by noon and have a blast all afternoon and go into that stadium. And that's what the Braves have been missing for decades, because when there was the old Turner Field, and it was before that, it was Fulton County Stadium, there was nothing to do in downtown. It was, downtown Atlanta, you go south of the city, all you could do is really just tailgate. There were no bars, there were no restaurants, there was no atmosphere. So when they moved that stadium up into the Cobb County area in Atlanta there, that was the best thing they ever did. I mean, that place it's a destination now. It's a must-see, must-do thing in Atlanta.
Yeah, and especially when your daughter lives 0.98 tenths of 100, 98 basis points.
You counted the steps, haven't you, Rob? You've counted the steps from her house to the.
It's awesome. I mean, I can go there to Social and Tavern or whatever. Billy and I always go up there and have a few road sodas, and then you can walk home, and it's good exercise. But that whole area there at exit 19 in Smyrna, when you get off, I mean, you're right. And there are people that walk from the neighborhoods around there all over. And
that's great.
It's just and the people that are, as many people as are inside of Truist Park, there's maybe more outside during the games and the bars and the restauants.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's a brilliant model, Tommy.
It is.
Those people are smart.
It is. And, my buddy, Derek Schiller, who runs the president of the Braves, I've known him for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. Harvey Schiller's son, and Harvey came in. He was the president of the U.S. Olympic Committee for a long time. And then he ran Turner Sports for a couple of years when I was there. And so got to know him, and his son, Derek, was about my age, and he was just coming up through the ranks and started working in the business. And now he's the president of the Braves. And they just did a fantastic job. I mean, just a fantastic job. Like I said, I mean, it's a family atmosphere. It's got the nightlife if you want it after the game. It's got good parking everywhere around there. It's pretty accessible, with all the bridges they put in from over across the interstate to get back and forth. I mean, it was just perfectly done, if you ask me. There's the hotels right there. It's just nice. It's a great place to go watch a game. You don't, like, when there used to be games down at Turner Field, you were like, oh, I mean, I got to fight traffic to get down there. It's going to, first pitch is at 7. I got to leave my office if I'm in downtown. I got to leave my office by 5 in order to get there by, and now there's still traffic, but it's not nearly as bad, because you got people coming in from all different directions, north, south, east, west, as opposed to everybody just coming down through the city to get there. So, long story short, to get back to it, I know we got to talk ACC, but the Braves have got so many great players locked up for so long. And I love your cup there with the old A on it. I see it. There you go. They got so many players locked up for so long, Rob. They're going to be in the mix for the next 5 or 6 years. They'll be just as good, if not better, next year and the year after that. The Alex Anthopoulos has done a great job of locking in all those big studs, and they got an offensive lineup that is just lights out for the next 5 or 6 years. So they're going to be in the mix. I would be shocked if they didn't get at least one more ring in the next 5 years. So
now I'm with you. I think look, the Braves fans are, I call them Bravesologists. Billy Roberts, everyone that I know that follows that team, they know everything about them. They watch. I think Billy said of the 162 games this year, he may have only missed single digits.
Oh, wow.
And it talks about Alex Anthopoulos, about the culture in the clubhouse there, in the dugout. And that is so important, that you are surrounded by positive people. I don't associate with negative people. When I heard all the stuff about NIL and the portal would ruin college athletics, I don't listen to it. You got to have that attitude of push forward. And I think what the Braves do is, I've never seen, and I would love to have Harvey Schiller and his son, both or one at a time, on this show anytime if you ever talk to him, because I have so much respect for what Harvey Schiller did in the SEC.
Right.
He's the one who said, hey, doesn't say anywhere here in this damn book we can't have a conference championship. And he did that. Look what that's done for college sports. And brilliant man. But want to, looking, and you think about, by the way, Brassfield Gorey Construction there in Birmingham, Miller Gorey Sigma Nu at Auburn. He was giving his induction speech to the Hall of Fame back in July of 14 at the Omni in Nashville, which he also, built, Brassfield Gorey. But they did. He said when he was being introduced, he said his first fee when he graduated from Auburn with his degree in either building science or engineering was $475. And the fee for the Truist Park there at the Battery, $675 million. So it's a difference, that's inflation adjusted, whatever. But I'm with you, man. All right, let's look at the ACC right now.
Yeah.
Standings, Florida State, Louisville, North Carolina, Duke, Virginia Tech, BCU, Georgia Tech, Clemson, way down there, Miami, way down there, NC State right behind them, Virginia, Pitt, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. What is that telling you? Virginia goes in and beats North Carolina last Saturday. And again, you know me, I'm an Auburn grad, but God, I love college football all over the country. And this 14 playoff has been fun, but this 12-team playoff is going to be snit crazy. It's going to be so much fun because I don't care what anybody says. Well, it'll be the same 3 or 4 teams. You know what? No, it won't.
Right.
It won't.
It won't. It won't. And you're going to get somebody in there obviously not Virginia because they're not not
this year
to make the playoff. But you're going to get somebody in there in a 12 seed that you're going to be like, oh, they got to play so and so. They're going to they're going to whoop them by 20, and all of a sudden they're going to come in there and they're going to roll Alabama or roll Ohio State or something. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, and it's going to be turned upside down. But that's what we love about college sports. That's why the NCAA tournament in March is the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest single sporting event in the world, because you got the Weber States and the George Masons of the world and these people that come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden the whole country's talking about them and they have their 15 minutes of fame, and it's just, and everybody in the country loves the underdog and loves seeing somebody like that do that. And the stories are just great. So you're going to see that now in college football for the first time, rather than having the big, we had TCU last year, but he's like, oh, what's the deal with TCU? You didn't really watch him, but we saw what happened and played out there. But, with the 12 teams, it's just going to make it great. I think you're going to see a lot of positive results from that, a lot more feedback, and people are going to jump on bandwagons of the underdog team and everything like that. It's going to be great. So, but the ACC is an interesting beast right now. Like Virginia going into Chapel Hill and beating them when they were number 10 team in the country. Who would have ever thought that? That was a scratch your head, what just happened to Mac Brown's team moment. And, kudos to Virginia. They played a good game. It wasn't like Carolina was beating themselves with throwing interceptions and fumbling and do whatever. Right. Virginia played a good game. So, me as an NC State guy, I loved watching it.
I'm sure you were teared up.
I had my Hoos. I was cheering for my Hoos. I was reminiscing my days back in road trip and marching in the band for Virginia. But it was a good weekend for that. And then it'll be interesting this weekend with NC State and Clemson. Always a good rivalry, always a good game. The
Textile Bowl.
There you go. So you know it. Yeah. The two big textile schools, but that'll be interesting to see, because NC State can't get this. We don't have an identity on the offensive side of the football right now at all. Defensively, I think we're just as good as anybody in the conference, but offensively, we don't have an identity. And it's our leading rusher and our leading passer on the team is sitting the bench. Brandon Armstrong is our old quarterback. Like they benched him, and he's our leading rusher, our leading passer. So what do you? There's a lot to figure out on the offensive side of the ball, and hopefully we'll show up against Clemson, at least make it a game.
Oh man, this is something interesting. You're talking about NC State not having an identity on offense. Look at Auburn. The same thing. It's just right. I can relate to you. And I look at last year, NC State won 9 games. Dave Doran, just kind of an Iron Man, just keeps plugging along. Y'all have money. You have a great academic package to sell. You're in that research. The average person doesn't understand when they talk about that research triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. Right. You take a kid up there on a visit, and they see that. And again, your kids are a lot younger than mine. I'm 23, 25, 27, 34. Mallory, the Alabama grad in Smyrna. But the kids, they're my son's friends, that age group, they're sharp as ever. They'll work. I mean, I really kind of I'm worried about he'll work till 1 or 2 in the morning working on research and, evaluations and all. And I mean, being on a conference call with Doug Dean and Frank Duffy, 2 of our, team members on sidelines the other night, Frank's like, man, he's asking about EBITDA and valuations and forward. And I'm going, well, that's an Auburn education. But NC State, same thing. I'm just curious, would you ever want to take on a role at NC State as minister of getting, the fan base, igniting the fan base and saying, look, who says we can't have great programs in everything?
Yeah.
I'm just curious because I would pay a guy like you, if I were the president of NC State, with your media background and your skills, I'd pay you a lot of money to do that. And I think schools need to wake up and start doing it, because there's nothing more deceptive in life than an obvious clue, and you get it. And when I travel around the country and go to different places, like Wilson, he went to Chapel Hill for that basketball game, and he's going to go to Raleigh this year. He's like, these are cathedrals. I mean, these are like when you go in Europe and you go to the great cathedrals, the great, the Abbey, Westminster Abbey, which was stolen from the Catholic Church in the 1600s, by the way, but I'll digress. But when you go and you see these cathedrals, you're in awe of them. That's what we love about college.
Well, you know what? The thing is, and to go back to what you originally said, people really don't understand, unless you've lived in the area or gone to school in the area, what the Research Triangle is all about, Rob. Like, you're talking about where else in the country, and it doesn't exist, do you have 3 major D1 programs all within 15 minutes of each other, maybe 20 minutes, right? You get Durham, whatever. It's Chapel Hill, NC State, and Duke, all within 15. It's equivalent to having Arkansas, Alabama, and Auburn 15 minutes from each other, 20 minutes down the road. Like, that's driving from me to the grocery store. I mean, that's where, you to get to Chapel Hill back and forth from Raleigh. So there's nowhere else in the country do you have that kind of atmosphere. And then if you want to throw in Wake Forest, it's, another hour down the road in Winston-Salem. So the 3 major Division I programs that have a huge reputation in the sports world, right there in their neighborhood. So it's a very unique setup, a very unique situation. But you're right, the cathedrals and, going on the campus of Duke, if you ever get a chance to walk around Duke, I mean, the campus there is just gorgeous. Chapel Hill's campus is stunning. I mean, just, beautiful on a fall day like today. I mean, you can't find anything nicer. Between that and Charlottesville, Virginia, those are 2 of the nicest campuses I've ever been on. I mean, they are gorgeous this time of the year. And I hate to admit it, but Chapel Hill has a beautiful campus. But, it's a really unique situation up there in the Triangle Park. And as far as your question about, going back, I mean, look, I'm diehard NC State. You can see the Wolves behind me here. You got my boy Jimmy V over here over my shoulder. And, so I have a love for that school, and I would love to go back and help in any way I could. But, the fan base at NC State is there. They're diehard because they're good old boys. I mean, they're engineers, they're agricultural guys, they're textile people. They're, these men and women that come at NC State are hardworking people, much like an Auburn grad, right? They're hardworking people. They just put their nose to the grindstone and get after it. And I'm not saying anything about liberal arts schools, but it's not that kind of atmosphere. It's a hardworking, blue collar kind of school. And the loyalty is there, man. I mean, that fan base is dying to win an ACC championship in football and to get back on in national prominence in basketball. I mean, it's there. It's just, and all the rest of the sports, we do great. Track and field, we got a good team. Soccer teams, we do well. Here we've got cross country. We got a girl running cross country for NC State, and track. I'm not cross country, but track right now. That's broken all kinds of NCAA records and is just amazing. But she'll be running the Olympics someday. I mean, so the programs are there. It's just everybody's kind of on that mediocre, like good level, great, but we got to get to that great consistency level. And that is so hard to do in today's day and age in college sports. I mean, you're going to see it more and more just because it's just because of the transfer portal and everything else. It's just going to be so hard. And we've talked about this ad nauseum, but like NC State basketball is starting up. They just had the media days, and I'm looking at the roster, and I noticed I recognize like 3 guys, and all the rest of them, I have no idea where they came from.
Who the hell is this guy?
And they're all juniors and seniors, and I'm like, wow, where'd this guy come from? So it's just a different dynamic these days. But NC State's got all the backing they need and all the things. They just got to find that magic potion, that magic mix for a couple of seasons and really just take off. And man, that place will go bonkers.
Yeah, because when you look at ACC Network and you watch it and you see that football stadium, Carter Finley Stadium, it's beautiful. I mean, the construction, the architecture. I'm sure they have a school of architecture. If they have engineering, they have to. But you're right. You look at the engineering, the textile, and I know that Auburn, good Lord, the College of Textile Engineering there, and the Samuel Ginn College of Engineering, they've built this engineering quad at Auburn that looks like the scene in Rocky when he's running up the steps, and you run up there to these. It's absolute. I mean, Maury Gaston is instrumental in that, being on the engineering council board for the last 20 plus years, and now Dr. Roberts, the president at Auburn, is a chemical engineering grad from Notre Dame in Missouri, but he's been at Auburn almost 30 years. But Tommy, getting back here, ACC, and I agree, Daniel, in Franklin, Tennessee, NC State degree is solid gold because it's a really difficult school. In ACC, it's always been that way. And I like I'm trying to find some of these comments. They come in and they either come in on here, or they text, and I'm trying to type them up as fast as I can. But there's one up here, and I like this. Tommy in Alpharetta, Georgia. We need to have a regular season ACC versus SEC football challenge like we do in basketball. And I do think that these two conferences, Greg Sankey needs to be working with Jim Phillips more and more, because we're going to need each other going forward more than we realize. We're the same damn people. What is it, 5 hours from Charlotte to Auburn? I've got one of my pledge brothers, Tate Davis, lives up there. Tate Jr. is opening a Goldman Sachs office there. My son Wilson's up there, and Reed Browne, one of his fraternity brothers from Fairhope, he's there. It's a destination location. I mean, Atlanta's great. You just spent your time in Atlanta. 6.5 million people, over 22 counties. I'm looking at your and Audrey. My wife lived there for 10 years. I do
not miss that, Rob. Yeah. I don't miss the traffic. Somebody here the other day said to me, they said, "Oh, you better leave early to get there. It's going to take you time with traffic." And I was like, how long should I leave? And they're like, leave at least 20 minutes early. And I was like, well, okay. No more in Atlanta. People are like, oh, leave an hour and a half early. Make sure you got time. Yeah, I don't miss that.
Exactly, because Audrey lived over there from 98 to 09, before I obviously knew her. And so Mallory went to St. Pius X, and then, it was so weird. She's like National Honor Society, and the valedictorian at St. Pius X got accepted to Harvard, but neither one of them got accepted to Georgia. They got that crazy, So before I knew her, Alabama comes along and says, here's the deal. We'll give you a laptop. We'll put a cookie on your pillow at night, and we'll tuck you in. Alabama is so aggressive at recruiting undergrad. But, in Atlanta, and Audrey and I were talking the other day, Memphis is 1.2 million people. And we're over here at the farm. It's 30 minutes from Front Street. We're real close. Traffic-wise, 15, 20 minutes. Atlanta, Audrey's like, so what was a commute? She goes, it could be an hour. Could be an hour and a half. Could be 2 hours. Just depends. And she took me to the Italian, the Mad Italian over in Marietta. Did you ever go there and eat the Mad Italian?
Yeah. God,
that place is good. But Buford Highway has some of the greatest restaurants in the world. I'm sure Charlotte has places like that. But Wilson, like Dad, Charlotte, it's clean. You got the Panthers. They need to be better. But Tommy, you talked about, I'm getting fired up. I'm into my coffee now, but ACC road trip. I've been to Charlottesville a bunch. Both my sisters and my mom went to Highlands College in Roanoke, finishing school there. I loved it. But, and then my brother-in-law played football for Virginia Tech. He's from Rich Creek, Virginia, worked 41 years for Dominion, First Union, and then Wells Fargo. So I love that ACC. It is so beautiful up there. It's the fans up there want to win just like anybody else does. I really do wish you had a role because you did ACC road trip for 8 years. Would you want to go back and you're a young guy, go back and do it again? We need that in college football. We need that in college sports, Tommy.
I would go back tomorrow and do that again,
Okay.
Rob. Now, I don't know physically if I could do all the same stuff I was doing 8-9 years ago when
You
I
got
was doing
this.
it.
You got it.
Man, I tell you what, I have more respect now after doing that show for the fanfare that goes on around the games and what all the people that put on the games that don't really get any recognition. The guys that paint the fields every day, right, to make the fields look good, and the guys the guys that clean the stadiums after the games, all the crazy stuff, the marching bands. Like we went to UVA.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, just the best, most beautiful campus. I mean, you feel like you've gone back in time with the quad there and where the Thomas Jefferson built the original dorm rooms are still there on the campus. And you can go and the seniors, the fourth years, I'm sorry, not the seniors, the fourth years, they call them fourth years at Virginia. They get they put their name in the lottery to stay in those dorms. They have wood burning fireplaces still in them. I mean, it's the dorm rooms that Thomas Jefferson built. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But it's just really amazing. It's literally like you walk back in history when you go walk around that school there. And the academics are off the chart. Obviously, the Charlottesville, the whole town is just a great college town. But it is. I got a chance to be a part of the marching band at UVA for a game, and we practiced for a couple of days. They gave me the big bass drum to play, so I had the big bass drum.
Holy cow!
And they gave me something where like if I screwed up, you couldn't hear it, right? Like we're going to give me a trombone. I would be, tearing it up out there. And it was just one of the, and I got to dress in the full Cavalier outfit with the big feather behind me and stuff. And it was a riot. It was so stinking fun. And at UVA was just awesome. It was great to be a part of, but I have utmost respect for all those guys in the band. They practice so hard. The cheerleaders at universities that practice so hard, the people that paint the field, like I said, college sports is a passion for everybody on that campus, right? And that is just the way and I got a whole new respect for all that. Rather than just seeing the coaches and the players go out there and execute out there in a day, you realize all the people behind the scenes that make college sports what it really is, the pageantry, the work, everything else. It's really cool.
Well, and you talk about going to Charlottesville, and golly, I've been up there 10, 15 times, I guess, just to visit, just to go to Monticello. It's a debate, Monticello. I call it Monticello. Dad being an architect, there's nothing like going up there with your mom and dad being an architect and looking at that. And my dad, just a marvel. It is. It's up on that, big hill and just looking out over it's
glorious.
It really is. It's majestic.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, and I'm getting, this is a statement someone just sent in from, I love this one. You'll love this one, Tommy. Let's see. Ben in Roanoke, Virginia. Tommy needs to be the ACC commissioner. Well, somebody needs to be out there on point that can connect with the fans. And Coach John Brady is going to be on with us in a minute. He coached at Samford, took LSU to the Final Four in Arkansas State. He's now the color analyst on the LSU Basketball Network. If you'll stay on with us, I'd love to have you because we're going to talk some college basketball if you'd like to do that. And I love talking football, but I love basketball too. Living in Memphis, the FedEx Forum, it's a shrine. It's a temple. It's 19,000 plus. I grew up going to Memphis basketball games, a ton of them. And I'll never forget skating on the ice. We drove down the family on a Thursday night during an ice storm in 1974 to watch the Tigers play, and the place was packed. It was 11,000 people in there on an ice storm, but we found a way to get to the game. And I'm sure Monday night wrestling was always packed regardless of weather. I know it was, with Jerry Lawler in there, curb stomping, Bill Dundee, handsome Jimmy Valiant. But I think where I'm going, and I think you get it better than anybody, doing all those things behind the scene. And you saw what, Maury Gaston saying, shout out to Tommy, land grant values. That's right. People don't realize the NC State fans are just like the Mississippi State folks, like the A&M folks, like the Auburn folks. And I go back to, this one right here, James in Birmingham, ACC, SEC need to work together. I totally agree with that. We need a regular season. We're going to do it in basketball. Do you know how much fun we're about to have with that? Okay, let's hold this thought. Let me take a quick commercial break. Coach Brady will be on with us. Stay on with us if you can, Tommy. I see the lighting in the background. And tell people before we go to the break, again, how they can reach out to you, because you do great work. You've got a great background in production, and I love the name of your company. And after that, we'll take a break and come back with Coach Brady.
Sure. I appreciate that. My production company is PAC 30 Productions, PACK 30 Productions. Do a lot of video production work. I also do a lot of motivational speaking. So if anybody out there is looking for somebody to come into their business or their church or youth group and do some, looking for a motivational speaker, let me know. You can reach me at Tommy Kane _talent on Instagram. That's KANE. But and look me up on the internet. There's a lot of ways to get in touch with me, but I'd love to get out there and help some people if I can.
Absolutely. Hang on with us. Coach Brady's in the bullpen. He is ready to come in here. He's got his whistle around his neck. He's got his clipboard with him. He's ready to run some plays right after this quick commercial message on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sideline.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am R.A. Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
Here with us, and Coach John Brady on with us. And Coach, this is Tommy Kane up here. Give you his background real quick. He was a walk-on at NC State at the end of Jim Valvano's career, and then Coach Robinson, and was a manager. And his story's pretty cool. He got to play. They needed a player in the Duke NC State game in 1993. And
show my age, Rob. Show my age.
Well, you're a young man, but you talk about the American dream, growing up in Wilmington, North Carolina, that just loves his team and the Wolfpack. We're talking ACC, SEC, but we're loving having two basketball savants, gurus on here right now, and both of you. Let's talk some basketball, Coach. I'm wound up on the coffee.
Well, I just got through with a cup of coffee. Let me ask something. Were you there after Andy Kennedy?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I recruited Andy out of high school. I was assistant at Mississippi State then, and
yeah, he played for us, and then he went to play at UAB, right?
Yeah, he finished at UAB. Really good player. Yeah. Really good coach and a really good guy. I've known him since he was in the 9th grade. But I know he rolled up there to Valvano. Next to Valvano, I was a nobody. So, he just beat me in recruiting.
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, Jimmy kind of beat everybody in recruiting when he wanted to, especially in those especially in the late 80s and right after he won the championship in 83, he kind of had his pick of the litter. So,
hey, Rob, let me share something with you. I'm sitting here outside Poplarville, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And I'm at a friend of mine has a place he calls his fishing camp.
Yeah.
And it's a house that 98% of America would like to live in. But he calls it a camp.
Yeah.
And it's a guy, you may know who he is, and Tim Floyd. You know him?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Good Lord.
I tried to get him to come on here and say a few words, but he's kind of shy these days. He's in full blood retirement, and he doesn't like to get out in public very much. The crowds just swarm him when he walks out in the crowd.
Hey, you're listen, man. He's a legend, and so are you. And this is what we love about the basketball and football is to get the people on who make it happen. And I'm over here at the hunting camp right now at the Cherry Farm right outside of Memphis, and it's a hunting camp. It's a 7,000 square foot house. It's pretty nice with 6 fireplaces, and we got to have some place to go after we hunt.
We're on the same page. That's like Tim here. He's got a couple of lakes out here. He's a big bass fisherman, and he's entertained a few coaches down here before. And he had a slow weekend, so he called me. Yeah.
Hey, not a bad place to be.
Tell Coach Floyd I love bass fishing. That's one of my passions. So if he ever wants to invite me up, and I don't know him, but I'd love to go fish with him.
Hey, Coach Tommy was on ACC Network for years doing ACC Road Trip and then Fox Sports in Atlanta. And we've been talking about SEC and ACC having a regular season challenge in football. We're going to do it in basketball this year. And Tommy, Coach Brady is now the color analyst on the LSU Basketball Network. And, you live in Baton Rouge. By the way, that's got to be one of the greatest jobs. We have Jimmy Ott, the Ott father, on a good bit from ESPN 104.5 in Baton Rouge. We have Scott Rabelais. I love my wife goes, who is this Rebelsis guy? I said, it's Rabelais. And, of course, Tanner Smith, one of our hunting club members from Lake Charles, they have Stein home and yard stores all over the country. His family, he goes, oh, man, I know a lot of Rabelais. That's a common name. Kind of like when I was in Munich and my friend Jeff Heimbach, I said, man, there's 8.5 pages of Heimbachs in the Munich phone book. What the hell's going on here? Man, it's a while. But let's talk about that challenge, SEC, ACC. I want to get your thoughts. And Tommy's got a few more minutes before he goes. I think this is going to be great for both leagues.
Yeah, I think it is. I was there. We did when I was at LSU, we did the Big East a couple of years, and we got going with the Big 12, and then now it's the ACC. And I think all those intersectional games are really good. And the problem with LSU is we've got to go to Syracuse, so that won't be any walk in the park for sure. But but I think it's good. I think it creates interest early on in basketball, and I think it's a good positive thing for two leagues to be able to do that.
I agree with you, Coach. I agree with you. It's when I was in school, we had the ACC Big East Challenge, and that was when Big East was in their heyday, right? So I mean, they were the Georgetowns were great, and St. John's and all the traditions up there in those schools, and we used to play against those teams and do that challenge every year. In fact, this is a true story. They used to be able to give you, Coach, you'll know this, but when you go play in those kind of things, they would allow the NCAA would allow each participant, each player or whatever, to get like a small gift from the tournament, from the thing. And one year we got, this is no lie, we got VHS players, a VCR player that had a little plaque on it that said ACC Big East Challenge. And I was cleaning out my house before I moved here from Atlanta back to here to Charlotte, and I found that old VCR player. What am I going to do with the VHS tape, right?
Yeah, I've got one.
I didn't know what to do with it, so I just
showing your age again. You're showing your age again.
I know it, Coach. I know. That's a good point. But I tell you, those challenges were great just because, I mean, it got, like you said, Coach, you got the whole league kind of riled up into, pulling for each other and pulling for, to kind of have a little camaraderie there. But it kind of just it set the tone for the season, I thought. I thought it was a really, and, ESPN would broadcast all the games and on prime time, and it was just a good way to kind of set the tone for the season.
Yeah, and you gauge what your team's about. Most of those teams are well coached, and they've got good talent, and early on you can really gauge where you are as opposed to playing, all the sectional and regional schools that you're supposed to beat by 20.
Well, when you look at it, and I'm like looking at some of the comment that just came in. Here it is, Clay in Memphis. Love hearing these two hoops junkies talk. Bring them back on. That's what I love about it. It creates a lot of rivalry. We've done it SEC Big 12, and living in Memphis, high school basketball, college basketball. You got the Grizzlies. That's a big deal. Where are both of y'all comfortable with where we are in college basketball? Do we need to expand the tournament? Because every time we've expanded it, it's increased interest. But what do y'all think about that?
Ooh. Coach, you want to take that one?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, look, Rob, we've talked about this before. I'm kind of a traditionalist. When they expanded it the first time, I was like, oh, no, it's great the way it is. And then obviously it became such a great, the spectacle, and it's in it. Look, as far as I'm concerned, the longer it lasts, the better. One of the saddest days of my life is when that Monday night when the final game gets played and it's done, and I got nothing to watch the next. Because the best thing about the beginning of the tournament is you got games every night. You don't have to wait for the week for the next grade 8, the 6th Street 16 to 8 or whatever. You got games every night. And as a junkie, I'm just sitting there watching every game I can. And not much work gets done that week in the nation. That's for sure. Everybody's got their pools going and everything else. But I say leave it the way it is. I think if you get too big, it might get a little too, just a little too big for itself. You got these kids too that are playing. It's a tough schedule. If you're playing the first round, or let's say you play in that play-in game, you're playing for a whole month straight of just game. I don't know. I think they should just leave it as it is. I don't know how you feel, Coach, but I like it the way it is.
Well, some talk about letting everybody in. Well, that's like everybody getting a trophy. I don't think.
Yeah, can't do that.
I don't like that thought process.
No way.
You got to earn something and make it a little special and make it a little more significant. And I think it's good where it is. And the other thing is, if CBS keeps carrying the championship game, what are you going to do with the Masters? And those cats that run the Masters, they're not moving that date.
No.
And if you expand the tournament, try to get more TV, where are you going? And so I think it's a money thing. It's a television thing. Because the Masters, those cats over there ain't moving.
No, never.
But I don't like increased numbers because it takes away from the significance of proving yourself during the season.
Yeah. Well, Coach, and to that point too, that's why, in my opinion, the ACC tournament has lost so much luster. It used to be such a spectacle, and that because you had to win that tournament back in the day. You had to win that tournament to get in the dance. So that early on, those games in the ACC tournament, where we're going back in the 80s now and stuff like that, where you had to win that tournament to win that game, made the ACC tournament to get in the dance, made it awesome. It's still a spectacle to some extent, but now it's so watered down with so many teams. God knows we'll have Stanford in it in a couple of years and SMU and all these other schools. You're it kind of blows your mind, but it's not the same as it used to be in those conference tournaments. It's because you can lose in the first round, but you could still go to the NCAA tournament. So you're a fan. You're yeah, whatever. We're still going to the tournament.
Yeah, and I think along those lines is I don't know if seeding has changed if you lose in the tournament. When I had good teams at LSU, I wanted to go to the tournament and play well and keep our momentum. If we went to the finals, championship game, that was cool. But if we got beat, it wasn't the end of the world because I didn't think it dropped us on a seed line at all. If anything, maybe one, but I don't think it affects the seeding. A lot of that is probably done before they play the championship game anyway. So I agree with you. I think it's a good thing for the fans to go see all the teams, and it's a build-up. It's more of a TV thing and a money maker than it is about having to go win. Now, some teams need to go and win a game or two in the tournament to get in the NCAA tournament, but most of the time, the teams that go there know where their seeding line is going to be.
Right.
Yeah. And, you think about this, how big college basketball, when the tournament was at 32, it went to 48 and then 64. And then you got the 4 teams that play up in Dayton. That's now made Dayton pretty famous. It's also home of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And those of you that are conspiracy junkies, supposedly they got some aliens in a footlock in a freezer up there. I don't know, but it's an interesting place. But what we haven't talked about is Tim Floyd is from the Pine Country. As Yancy Porter will be on in the next hour with us from Rebel Yell Hotline. Yancy calls it Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I know people haven't been bringing that up, but he can coach a team. Come on over here. We'd love to have him on here.
Shy, man. You got to bring him out of his shell these days. Sit down.
Hey, man. Hey, take over, Tommy. Coach, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
I didn't realize you were from
Let's get to the important stuff. Let's get to the important stuff. Coach, how's the fishing? You catching some bass?
Awesome. They're still hitting on top water.
Oh, that's the best. There's nothing better in the morning with top water baits, little spinner. Oh, man, that's the best.
Yeah.
Coach, we'd love to have both of y'all. And if you like fishing, and if Tommy does, we'll go up on the Spring River. We go to a certain area of the river in Hardy, Arkansas, about 2 hours from where we are. We were up there August 19th, 7 canoes, 14 of us. Several of the members were physically unable to do much fishing because they were just a little bit liquored up, but we caught 209 rainbow trout. And we've got the secret weapon. And if you ever want to come up here, all 3 of y'all, I'll take you up there and we'll put in at the certain place and go on a certain section of the river. And you know what confidence is? Going fishing for Moby Dick, getting extra tartar sauce. We will be taking extra stringers because we'll catch a lot of fish.
Coach Wood, I got no idea what he's talking about, tartar sauce. I got nothing.
I get a little nervous when you start talking rivers in Arkansas. It goes back to that Deliverance movie and the banjos. And I'm really comfortable on these lakes with people I know. So.
It is. Sometimes you hear a little banjo music up there.
No banjo playing, Rob.
Yeah. Someone has a T-shirt up here I saw that said, "I hear banjos playing." We do a lot of canoe and kayak racing, and it's up there. But Coach, I want to ask you. I live in Memphis. Go to a lot of Grizzlies games, 25 or 30 a year, and a couple of my friends have bought into the team. There's nothing when you have an NBA team in your town, it changes your perspective. I mean, you'd see Zebo, my kids, they'd see him out at this certain gas station every night, after a game getting gas, and they do so much. Do you miss coaching? I mean, I remember when you were at Iowa State, and you're from Hattiesburg. People forget you're from, or as Yancy Porter calls it, Hattiesburg.
The hub city, the cultural
right.
center of the cultural center of the Deep South.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a triathlon down there called the Hub City Hustle. I've done it. It's fun.
That's right.
But do you miss coaching?
No, I don't. I had my time. My time. Everything runs its course. And got a lot of scars on me, but had a lot of fun. Can't imagine doing anything else. But just a different time in our life. I still watch it. Still like to see what guys are doing with their teams. Still like to pull for a lot of guys that I know. Some guys I pull against, when I'm watching the games. But I do, and I still enjoy the game itself. But really glad I'm not in that arena right now because of all the changes. A lot of things have changed.
I was going to ask you two gentlemen that question. Both of you, obviously had great track records. And we're both great recruiters in your own right, but the world they live in now with those coaches, with the transfer portal, I feel like as a coach, you got to continue to recruit the kids you've already got on your team so they don't go anywhere. What's your thoughts on how that all is playing out?
Well, I used to make this joke. When I referred to, like, Tim's a good friend of mine, I used to refer to Tim. I said, in this day and age, Tim Floyd and I would give them 3 or 4 days off for Christmas. We'd come back for the second semester. Nobody'd show up. They'd all quit. we wouldn't have a team. We'd have a couple of walk-ons left, but other than that, it wouldn't work. But, it's like, to me, when you interview for a job now, the first question to the AD is how much money do we have in the NIL? And that's a part of the contract now. I got to get couple of $1 million in NIL or we may not be able to make this thing work. And Back in the day when Tim and I did it, personality, you could outwork people. I like this coach. I want to go play. I like that program. I got a nice feel for the school. Mm-hmm. All those things with $50,000 more to go somewhere else, those things are lost. They're gone. It's all about most of it. I mean, there's some cases where it's not, but at the high major level is what I'm really speaking on is, who can give me the best deal and who can let me shoot the ball and show what I can do and get to the next level. That's the basis of what we're looking at now.
Yeah, and I would add that more important than the coach and his recruiters that he's hiring now would be the athletic director that you're working for. And how aggressive is this guy in terms of raising money? Is he a football AD? Then he's probably putting a lot of that money over in the football program. Is he a hustler? Because it gets down so often, according to the guys that I talk to, that if it's and I think that's one thing about interviewing a guy like John is all these coaches aren't going to be honest with you guys. They're going to tell you how wonderful it is that the players are getting this and getting that. And but I can't think of anything worse than paying bad players. Yeah. And all these guys that are in the portal, if they were pros, they'd be in the NBA draft. You can leave any time in college basketball. You can leave after your freshman year, your sophomore year. So they're basically paying guys that aren't pros a lot of money to go to these schools. And good point. And I just think it's one more layer to get a coach fired because they're making decisions based on synergy and film versus going in homes. It's like the match game. They make a phone call, and the kids already had 18 calls from different schools. I mean, you're making this rush to get a guy that you really don't know. And, you got people paying money to get this player to your school, and the guy's not good enough. All of a sudden, that booster says, hey, I want this coach out of here. I just put a bunch of money in this guy, and he can't play. So from the coaching perspective, I don't think I'd enjoy that.
Yeah. Rob, I got one more question, if you don't mind. I'm kind of taking your job here. This is great for me.
It's wide open, man.
Yeah. Hey, so let me ask you gentlemen this. Do you feel like the game is being watered down because of the transfer portal? Because, when we were coming up in the ranks, the Tim Duncans of the world or whatever, great player comes into Wake Forest, plays 4 years before he goes, and he kind of builds himself up into a better player. They build a team around them. That's, an example I can remember. But nowadays, it's like I was telling Rob earlier, I look up the NC State roster and I only recognize 2 guys on the roster because everybody else has come in from different schools. So as a coaching standpoint, doesn't that water down the game where the play is not as good because these guys haven't been playing together for 3 or 4 years? How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And to take it to another level or different perspective, Tim and I and Tim Jankovic and Kermit Davis, we did a clinic 2 weeks ago in Baton Rouge for coaches. And Tim made a great point. Everybody plays the same way. Spread the floor, ball screen, dribble it to death, bang it in the floor, penetrate kick, cross-court pass, load up in the corner. Everybody's playing the same way. And so why couldn't you anchor the post, throw it into the post every now and then and make them defend the post and play inside out again? We watched the Lakers game last night. They were able to win the game because they threw it in the post or drove it to the goal the last 5 minutes and overcame a 6-point deficit and won the game in regulation. And Tim says, look here, they threw the ball to the post. They drove the ball to the rim. They didn't settle for threes. And so, it's a different game. But I think, to your point, everybody's kind of playing the same way now, run the same offense. So with that being said, it's a different game now, where we used to screen off the ball and have weak side down screen, back screen, flare screens. A lot of that is gone now because you get a good point guard. You get one of those guys who can stretch the floor. It's ball screen, pop, penetrate, kick, cross court, shot fake, drive. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coach, for both of y'all, Tommy was a walk-on. His story is unbelievable. How he got to Tommy, tell him real quick your background, because Coach, both of y'all, what you all say is solid gold. I was at Auburn when Charles Barkley was there, and a bunch of my friends were tutoring him. And I saw Charles at the Auburn, Georgia game, and he's just everywhere. He said, he goes, my goal in life is to give away most of my money, but now that I have grandchildren, they said, don't give it all away. But I mean, that's what we love about basketball. And Coach Sonny Smith, when I started my show in college, I went into his office and I said, will you be on my show? I got him, I got Coach Dye, I got Pat Sullivan. They all agreed to. My dad said, before you ask to have a show, already have a lineup of guests. And Coach Smith still comes on this show. Guys like y'all, I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of what you do. It means a hell of a lot. My phone's blowing up going, you got Brady, you got Tim Floyd, you got Tommy Kane. This is they can't get Zeppelin together because John Bonham's no longer living. But this is as good a basketball panel as I've ever had. So I got to tell you, thank you. But Tommy, tell them your background. That's a cool story right there. This is why we love college basketball.
Oh, I'll make it short and sweet for you, but I grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina, and was an NC State fan since I was 4 years old. I was a decent high school player, but obviously not at the ACC level. So Coach Valvano hired me as a manager, and I went up to NC State and worked as a manager for him. He left the school. Les Robinson came in, and I started being thrown into practice here and there because they needed extra players in my senior year, right before we were playing Duke, and Christian Leitner and Bobby Hurley and Grant Hill and those guys. Coach threw me a jersey the night before the game and said, you're on the team for the rest of the season. So it was like a Rudy moment, the great movie Rudy, but I actually, true story, took that jersey home with me and slept in it that night and slept in my game jersey and went to the gym the next day to play Duke. But it was a childhood dream come true, and it changed my life forever. So
yeah. How great is that? That's a great story.
Yeah.
Tommy, you and I got something in common that I was a Division I player like you. Brady was NAIA, so we have to talk a little different for him. But
bring it down to my level.
But I was a manager as well. I watched Jocks and Socks for the New Orleans Saints from 16 to 21 years of age in their summer camps, and so I got a lot of respect for those guys, and was a bad player. In fact, that's how I got into coaching. They needed my scholarship or somebody could play my senior year. And they told me they thought my future was in coaching and made me a student assistant coach at La Tech. But a lot of guys got in that way.
That's right.
Rob, let me say something now. You gave Tim plugs from being from Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
You're from Macomb.
75 miles west of Hattiesburg from Macomb, Mississippi. So you got a couple of guys here, South Mississippi guys that, got into coaching and, won a few games. So I wanted to plug Macomb while you just overlooked me there.
No, because my friend Lonnie Lewis Smith is from Macomb, and hell, Franz Beard was talking to me yesterday. He lived in Macomb for 3 years, but I know both of y'all got a lot going on. I hope y'all have a great weekend. We're at the top of the hour, but thank you so much for Coach, both of y'all being on, and Tommy, you as well. And I'm just ready for basketball. I tell you this much, being an Auburn grad, I went to every game when I was there growing up in Memphis. I went to every Memphis game we could. We got friends that had season tickets, and we went a lot. But I love basketball, and people say in the South it's not as big as football. It is when there's a commitment, and when there's a commitment to winning, it's so much fun to watch it unfold. But y'all are both, man, what you all say and Tommy's story, again, it's solid gold. And I think the younger people, my kids 23 to 34, 4 of them, they watch every game. My dad's 95. He watches every Auburn game of anything, and every Grizzlies game, and every Memphis game. And he watches, and you, Coach, you went to Southern Miss, didn't you? Are you a graduate?
I did for 2 years, and then and then went to Louisiana Tech. I was part of that transfer portal 50 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean,
did you get a good NIL deal, Coach? Coach, did you get a good NIL deal?
He saved his first NIL check.
There you go. There you go, man. Hey, look, y'all have a great time this weekend. I know, and I really appreciate you being on here with us, but I'm ready for basketball after this talk, and let's do it again next Friday, man. You can't get here soon enough. Okay.
See you guys. Coach, good to meet you.
See you.
Take care, gentlemen.
Thank y'all so much.
Right.
We'll take a quick commercial break and be right back with hour number 2 on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
And what a segment there, man. Coach John Brady, then Coach Tim Floyd joined us. They're at the hunting camp down in Poplarville, Mississippi, down there right on the Louisiana line. And Tommy Kane from over in Charlotte. That was a lot of fun. All right, more spits and giggles coming up here right now. We got the Texas duo. Howdy, folks.
Howdy,
Big
folks.
Tex here. Want to
Yes,
say, come try our new favorite fried food. Where else can you get 12,000 calories in 23 seconds? The new deep fried butter.
That's right.
Look, I've got a friend of mine I went to high school with. Charlie Bradshaw lives out in Dallas. He's out there right now, and he's been sending me these little blurbs of these two guys on the morning radio show. And it's Bruce Bolich, and it's oh golly, what's the guy's name? The youth minister, and then there's Big Tex. Do y'all know who the guys I'm talking about? They're on the radio that have been doing it for about 30 years, the ticket
Gentleman
or whatever.
Miller and, Gentleman Miller and Gordon Keith, who's from Mississippi.
Oh, yeah,
actually.
from the ticket. From the ticket.
Yeah, the
These
ticket.
guys are nuts.
Oh, my God. And I love the guy, Big Jim Jacks. Well, I'm sitting here. Look, you just can't make stuff like you got to love it. And think about my favorite booster, and you know who he is, don't you? Why, I say here, why, back off, boy, you're bothering me. Foghorn Leghorn.
Amen.
How's he doing? Is he driving a big Eldorado with a couple of big Longhorn steers on the front hood? I love it. Good morning, gentlemen. Let's get the serious face on, as Rich Little would do when he imitated somebody. Oh, why, I am not a crook. I've done no wrong. August 9th, 1974, on a Thursday night, our Boy Scout meeting, Troop 86, was canceled as he resigned. A great man, a great American, a Quaker, I might add. But it's college football season, man. I'm drinking some coffee. I am bouncing off the walls right now. So one of y'all take over, because I can't complete a sentence without getting more excited about college football, college basketball, all the great stuff happening. And y'all's Texas Rangers are going to the World Series. Y'all got to be excited about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we are really excited. I've been looking all over this week for World Series gear, for swag. And Bo, I don't know if you got any up there in southern Oklahoma, but we can't find any down here in the Metroplex. It's all sold out.
It is. My wife went and wiped out 2 Academy Sports yesterday, and I think she got a cap out of it, and that's
exactly right. I got 2 baseball caps, and I was able to get my 13-year-old daughter Caroline a youth shirt, but there are no adult shirts to be had anywhere in the Metroplex.
Oh,
they were lined up outside the night that the Rangers beat the Astros. There were lines like 2 blocks long in front of all the sports equipment stores. So it was.
Well, I even went online this morning, and there are none. So I guess we'll have to head out to the ballpark and pick some up. But I'm here in Austin, Texas. I'm here in Austin, Texas today, and I went by the Academy Sports and Outdoors yesterday on my way in, and of course, there's not a stitch of Texas Rangers gear down here because this is all 100% Astros country down here. They wouldn't dare carry a Rangers anything down here.
No, I mean, the Astros, we've got a couple of members in our hunting club from Lake Charles. And I mean, they, when you live in Lake Charles, they consider them, they're Cajuns, but they consider themselves quasi de facto Texans because that I-10 over to Houston, and that's a ginormous area. And who doesn't like Dusty Baker? I mean,
great guy.
I'm going to throw some things at y'all. And I was thinking about this the other day because I got a ton of respect for the great riders. I wish we could get a 30 for 30 on the Sky Riders tour. But as Philip Marshall and a lot of those guys have said, I don't know what the statute of limitations is, but I'd like to just interview the pilots who flew the DC-9 or 10. They said one time they were coming in and just skidded across the runway, and it's like, welcome to Starkville, gentlemen. But I'm going to throw what I remember about, in every press conference that if I go to one, I look, used to be the TV guys over here, radio guys over here, the newspaper guys over here. And the newspaper guys, the writers, were kind of like the oracles of Delphi and the old, Greek mythology. They were just kind of sit there like, my dad is, like I said, he's as laid back as Willie Nelson on sleeping pills. I mean, he's a confirmed narcoleptic. I'll admit that. But he does his best work with a scotch and water on a paper napkin at Pete and Sam's. I mean, he's designed a lot of cool stuff there. And I'm not smashing because I'm a radio, I've done TV, I do podcasts and all. What's so special about the writers is y'all will pull a guy over there one-on-one. And you get them to talk. So I'm going to throw some things at y'all. Ken, if you had a chance right now to talk to Coach Paul W. Bryant, if he were still here and all this is going on in college football and everything, what would be a couple of questions you might throw his way?
Oh God, wouldn't that be fantastic? I don't know if I could get any words out of my mouth, standing in front of Bear Bryant. I think my two questions would be for him. What he thinks of all of this realignment and all of these traditional rivalries going away, because really the only traditional rivalries that are really left are in the SEC and in the Big Ten. They're all going away in the Big 12. The big ones are, and the Pac-12. You're going to have maybe a few left amongst the independents, but I would want to ask him because he was so big on tradition and he was so big on the traditional rivalries. I'd ask him that, number one. And then number two, I would ask him what he thought about all this NIL thing, because I don't know if that would sit very well with him.
All right. Bo Carter.
By the way, speaking of Ken being in Austin too, Rob, sorry to interrupt, but he is there to win the University of Texas Journalism School Alumnus of the Year Award. So very congratulations. And he's there for the Sarkisian Bowl. Coach Sarkisian going against his old team. He was actually his last game in college. He was the most valuable player in the 1997 Cotton Bowl against Kansas State. So coming to Texas was not a reach for Coach Sark there. So.
Man, now that's the University of Texas for winning. Okay, and what is the award called again?
Ken clues in.
Yeah, it's the Moody College of Communication Outstanding Alumni Award. It's a big honor, Bo. I appreciate you bringing that up. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but the other I get the award tonight down on campus. And other winners include Lady Bird Johnson, Admiral William McRaven, who was the chancellor of UT, who led the bin Laden raid. And believe it or not, he was a journalism major at UT. And so, I think I'm in good company. But then, another guy that won this award a while back, the one and only Earl Campbell. He got a degree from the communications school.
Wow. There it is.
So
Congratulations to Ken.
I feel like I'm in tall company.
It really was.
Well, hell yeah, you are. In fact, May of 2014, Admiral McRaven was the commencement speaker at the University of Texas commencement ceremony.
Right.
And he said, when I was 37 years ago, when I was graduating, I don't remember much except I had a throbbing headache from the night before staying up all night. He goes, when I was in the Navy, trying to become a Navy SEAL, what I do remember, though, is every morning our instructors would come in when we first got up, and there were certain things we had to do. And one of them was we always had to make our bed.
Correct.
Because you're going to be running in the cold, in the sand, swimming in the cold Pacific Ocean in the surf, swimming with sharks. You're going to be doing things you never thought you could do. You're going to be tired. You're going to be hungry. You're going to be worn out. You're going to be doing it again and again and again. At the end of the day, when you come home to a nice, clean bed that is made, there's something to be said about that. So accomplish your first thing of the day when you get up in the morning, make your bed. Mm-hmm. And I've played that for my kids so many times. And when you're wired like me, you're ADHD and OCD and NFL, CFL, NBA, I don't know what it is, but I make my bed first thing. I jump out of bed and I say, 5 alive. It's going to be a great day. And I make my bed. It is something to be.
You know what, Rob? There are so many people that live by that today. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten, I went up to him a few years ago and got a chance to talk to him. And I went up and said, Admiral McRaven, he goes, just call me Bill. So
right.
I said, well, Bill, I just want to tell you that ever since I heard that speech and read your book, Make Your Bed, I make my bed every day. And he goes, I can't tell you how many people have told me that over the years. And so he has made America into a bunch of bed makers. And so good for him, and
absolutely
anyway, great American. And very thanks for bringing that up. I'm not bragging about it all. I'm very humbled about it. And so it's going to be a great evening tonight, and I'm glad to start this day with y'all because they've got me listed for the award as Ken Capps Football Writers Association of America, and I can't think of anything I'd rather be listed for in that award.
Yeah, listen, my first wife's family's all from Harlingen, Edinburgh, San Angelo. The Colonel, father-in-law from my first marriage, I love him. They live up in Franklin. He was in the Army 26 years and lived in Round Rock when he was at the University of Texas getting a master's in political science. He got another degree from TCU and another one from Florida State. But when he lived, he was the head guy for the ROTC program at Texas. And there is never, ever a moment, the kids call him Grams and Granddaddy, when you see that man not wearing a Texas Longhorn ball cap. I mean, he said in the Army, I couldn't always do that, but, uniform. But that man, God, they love Texas. But Ken, that is a great honor. That is incredible. You should be very proud. Like you say, you're humble. You're like, I've met one person who won the Congressional Medal of Honor. I've seen it. The most humble person you will ever meet. And they're they don't even want to talk about it. They will say, I did what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And Ken, so you both of y'all, the Texas duo. I mean, all right, I'm going to throw one, not trying to date Bo, but if you could interview, if you walked in the room and they said, all right, next man up, you and Newt Rockne, Coach, what about the state of college football today? And he's not laying in the bed. He's not about to check out on us. But you said, Coach, what do you think about where we are in college football today? Coach Newt Rockne with Bo Carter here live on Sidelines.
First, I'd tell him, don't get on that plane to Los Angeles.
That's right. That's right.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to darken the conversation. Yeah, right. No, he and again, another traditionalist. Ken remembers this. He worked for the Postal Service for 3 years in Chicago, so he could afford to go to Notre Dame or whatever too. So he he's really a legendary deal. He was into the traditions, Army, Notre Dame, of course, the Four Horsemen coming out of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, coming out of the dark blue-gray sky. In fact, Ken, we mentioned that in the column last week, 99-year anniversary of the Four Horsemen deal there. So it with the famed Grantland Rice. But no, Ken, I'd ask him probably about the Army Notre Dame game, the Notre Dame Michigan, which they played over those years, and how much tradition goes into college football, really. And he was a great player. He was one of the first people to be an end when the forward pass came into really practice in the 1910s. So he would appreciate, and I don't think he'd like the NIL or the transfer portal. Although Ken probably remembers the history of this. In the 30s, there was a guy named Bobby Wilson who played for SMU's national championship team, and he actually, Rob, I think he went to he was kind of embarrassed about it. He started the year at Stephen F. Austin, transferred to I think Texas for 2 weeks, Ken, and then ended up at SMU. He came to SMU like the second or third game of the season, and then scored the winning touchdown to beat TCU in the 1935 game of the century. So it's unfortunately.
Why would I remember that, Bo?
I know. I tell you,
that was a long time before my time.
That's right. And then they started the National Letter of Intent, in 64, 65, Rob, and can you remember? And now it's all gone out the window, more or less.
Well, the main thing is that you're talking about with anything, history, tradition, and heroes. Doug Dickey or Haywood Harris said it: tradition never graduates. But I did not know that Coach Newt Rockne could have gone the other way and been the original Cliff Clavin had he stayed with the Postal Service for a longer time. Cliff Clavin. Or Cliff Clavin could have been Newt Rockne had he left the Postal Service earlier. No, but I think it's cool to go back and think about how these people would react in an interview. And that's another thing is when you all both as erudite professionals watch on TV interviews being done, I'll throw it at you, Ken. What do you see the biggest mistakes that the young reporters and reporterettes, whatever, are making when they're interviewing people on national TV forums, whether it's ESPN, Fox, SEC Network, whatever?
Well, I'll quote the words of our good friend Bill Hancock. The outgoing director of the CFP, because I asked him this very question last year when I was working on a project with UT and University of Alabama students who were doing a big project on the Texas-Alabama game last year. And I asked a bunch of different people this question, and this was the answer. I asked him, what do you think the biggest mistake reporters make when they're talking to coaches about a game? And he had a 3-word answer. Maybe it's 4. Trying to be too cute.
Yeah.
Trying to be too cute.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to ask these gotcha questions, and, you're not going to put anything over on a Nick Saban, on a Steve Sarkisian, any of these coaches, and you ask something cute to Lincoln Riley, he'll suspend you. He'll kick you out of the press corps like he did that poor young man from the Orange County Register a few weeks ago. So I think that's the biggest mistake. And I think followed up by that is not doing your homework. Before you go into a football game, looking up all of these different stats of all of these different players. And, like what's coming up at Texas this weekend, you talked about next man up. It's going to be a wild weekend, even though Texas is playing BYU, as Bo said, and Texas should have you never know if Texas was going to have an easy game with anybody after what happened against OU. But, with Quinn Ewers out, it's going to be the Malik Murphy and what am I trying to say?
Arch Manning, young
The Arch Manning show. How could I forget that? The Malik and Manning show down here. And, you know, neither one of these guys have played much of a lick of college football at all. Manning hadn't thrown a pass in college football. And so, but to have all of their stats and to look back at Malik and how, you know, he's thrown like maybe, I think, 10 or 12 passes, you know, and to be able to have all that information. And I've seen people ask the dumbest questions about these two guys. And it's like, man, do your freaking homework.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think those are the two things that I think that really irk me the most, because I try to, when I come on this show, I try to have my topics down, and I also try to have my research done so I can sound at least semi-intelligent.
First off, I want to give both of y'all double thumbs up, because you always do. I mean, we're getting stuff the night before, and that's what I love. I mean, I never feel like this is work. I mean, there's something else I would compare it to that's never bad either, but you know what I'm talking about. But it's that good. It's so much fun, and I'm talking about eating Cheerios. But anyway, it's so much fun having. Thank you all, Mildred, getting me some coffee. Oh, had some coffee. But anyway, both of y'all will send out points of interest, topics, whatever. Again, I love when I'm talking to Dad about architecture and planning. Everything is planning. Again, the man doesn't hang a picture, a painting on the wall without a stud finder. 16 inches between the studs, 14 on the interior. He does it right. He goes, boy, you hang that thing half-assed, it's going to look half-assed. Now, don't do anything half-assed. That's right. Both of you all need, and again, Billy Ray Valentine was on with us Monday. He's got a crazy schedule this semester. He is a college student, but he was on Monday with Jason Caldwell of Auburn Undercover. And it's great having him on with y'all and different True Grit journalists, because, you know, remember those Jiminy Cricket parables? I'm no fool, no siree. I want to live to be 103. And he said, you know, Pinocchio, there's two ways to do things. There's the right way and there's the wrong way. Only a fool does things the foolish way. Well, a lot of young writers are just throwing crap up against the wall and hoping it sticks.
And a lot of the grammar, a lot of the facts are wrong too. And I mean, you know, you got to get the facts right. And I mean, this is not, I mean, you got to get the facts right. You know, when I was doing my research about Malik and Manning the last couple of days, I found an old joke, and I'd forgotten about this, even though I'm a Texas alum and been around, you know, this stuff, you know, for 40 years. I'd forgotten an old joke, and I thought, you know, I think our listeners would really enjoy this. And here's the old joke, and I bet Bo knows this. The most popular player on the Longhorns football team every year is the second string quarterback.
Of course. Absolutely.
You know? Yeah. And I thought that is so true. That is so true. Here, Quinn Ewers has had a great year so far this year.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, he gets hurt against Houston, and regretfully, but man, everybody's wanted Malik Murphy to play all year. And of course, they've been clamoring for Manning all year. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get your wish this week.
Yeah. And somebody sent out a text last night about Malik Murphy, how popular he is among his teammates. He's from California.
Yes.
And I give both of y'all credit, because y'all said this a while back. You said Malik Murphy's about 6'5", kid from California. Big, talented kid. He's going to play at Texas. And if he doesn't play there, he's going to play somewhere. But apparently he's got the total package. The four horsemen.
He looks like VY. He looks like Vince Young. He's got that stature and everything. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's got the size. And I mean, he showed out in the orange-white, the spring game in back in April, and that's where everybody got so excited. But you know, Sark was not going to replace Quinn Ewers, and Sark made the right decision. But what Sark did say was he was going to make sure that his quarterback room was prepped in case Ewers got hurt. And what happened? He was 100% right. And now Texas has two capable quarterbacks behind Ewers that can come in and play. And of course, remember, they're brand new. So at least they've got a good, running back in Jonathan Brooks, who's averaging 118 yards a game to hand off to. But, but again, I laughed and I thought, God, how did I forget that old joke? The most popular guy on the UT football team every year is the second string quarterback. That is so true.
Well, it is. And to me, nothing surprises me anymore about, the way fans are, what things that they say and what have you. And I think that the reason why everybody wants the backup quarterback to be in there is because they always want to think they're smarter than the coaches who are at practice every day. That's what cracks me up. And of course, we're all old enough to remember when you could go to practice. And oh my God, it was so much fun. David Housel, when I was a freshman, he would give you this instructions. He'd say, go down there and get some quotes from Coach Dye. Well, that's like pulling teeth sometimes. But you just, as a young kid, I'm like 19, you're around Philip Marshall. You could be around, Jimmy Bryan, Charles Hollis, who knows? Tony Barnhart could have been there. Furman Bisher, who knows? There's so many great writers, John Pruitt, whatever. And, you'd ask a question sometimes, but Coach Dye wasn't one of these rapid back and forth, but I remember being down there in August of 87. It was about 170 that day with the wind chill. And they were literally taking a player off the field on a stretcher to put into an ambulance, a big tight end from Haleyville, Alabama. Mm-hmm. And I remember someone said, Coach, it's hot out here. What do you do about it? And he goes, this ain't Syracuse or Michigan. It's Alabama. He goes, you deal with it. Next question. Just, no pity party. That's just the way it is. All right, let me say something real quick about Chatter Duck. Paul Peoples, Joe McGinney, great folks down in Huntsville. Chatter Duck Decoy, the first ever mechanical decoy designed to revolutionize your waterfowl hunting experience. This cutting-edge decoy combines ingenious design and technology to replicate the authentic sounds and movements of chattering ducks on the water, attracting waterfowl like never before. Paul is a member of the Cherry Farm Hunting Club now. Glad to have him. The NIL deal we put together was sufficient, and he'll be signing autographs up here opening day at duck season. But no, he's been up here a bunch this summer, was up here a couple of weeks ago. You can get him at Max Prairie Wings, Rogers Sporting Goods in Kansas City, Missouri. And the thing is, people, as Paul said, and I agree, don't respect enough the depth perception that ducks, geese, turkey, deer have. If you're in a blind or a pit or a deer stand and you're fidgeting around and fiddle farting around and screwing, they're going to hear that. When you got a decoy 30 or 40 yards out in the decoys, splashing around, making a feed chatter, they're going to focus on that and less on you. Think about that. Also, you want to be dressed up in great gear to go duck hunting, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Days open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Charles Hall, Laura Hall, Raven, all the people out there since 1961. Charles isn't that old, but he's been working there for 23 years. We're out there every week, 40, 50 boxes a day of stuff coming in. The largest Filson order they've ever made, second largest Filson dealer in the Southeast. They have Old South, Ariat. Ariat has more cool gear. Pendleton, Schaefer Outdoors, over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. They even got little toy pistols, with the orange on the end of it for kids to play, cowboys and Indians. They got all the great stuff out there. They're an old school values, patriotic, God-fearing, Merry Christmas kind of people out there. Love them. Proud to have them as a sponsor. They've got, I'm going to tell you something else, more duck head gear than you've ever seen. Another company out of Texas called Duck Camp. They've even got Barber. They're carrying Barber now. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Proud to be associated with them. Honored to have them as a sponsor. And both of you guys, I love this discussion. Shirley in Memphis. My mom's name is Shirley. Well, I digress. Shirley in Memphis. I said, how'd you get the name Shirley? And she told me last week, she said, well, mother, they said, you can't leave until you give her a name. She goes, Shirley, you can't be serious. I guess that's how she said it.
And don't call me Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley. A boy called Sue. But anyway, my mom and I used to get forked at the dinner table if we used improper grammar or reached across the table, of course. Like you get, bam, that hurts. But people will judge you by the words you use and attention to detail.
Correct.
One of the greatest teachers I had at Christian Brothers High School, Brother Stephen Schonhoff, my sophomore year. The class was word wealth. And I mean, just, then there's what, is it etymology, the study of words? And then there's Latin. Did both of y'all take Latin?
No.
No, I took it for 7 years, Rob.
Okay. And Ken, you did not take Latin?
No, not at all.
Okay, where did y'all both develop these vocabularies?
At the University of Texas and Northwestern University, baby.
That's right. But where did you grow up, Ken? Austin?
I grew up in Austin, yeah.
Okay, Bo, you grew up in Sheffield, Alabama,
which is a big classical studies
one of the Quad
majors.
Cities. Okay, but the point I'm making is when people use words, and it is so refreshing. Like Mitch Davis is 27. He's on here with us every week. He's been with us the 4 years we started this, and I'm gonna tell you what, he's getting better and better, paying attention. But also, just as bad as when people use words. Here's Yancy Porter right now from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Rebel Yell Hotline. Catch them Monday night, 6 p.m. Rebel Yell Hotline, Sports 56 WHBQ in Memphis, and Super Talk, Mississippi. That's 2 syllables, Mississippi.
Right.
Listen, Yancy, we just a second ago had a blast. We had Coach John Brady on, and he goes, Rob, you ain't going to believe where I am. I'm down here in Poplarville, Mississippi at a hunting camp with a friend of mine. And he brought him on. It was Coach Tim Floyd. That was a lot of fun. And so I said, Coach, I know where you're from. You're from Hattiesburg, as Yancy calls it. And he goes, yeah. And then John Brady goes, wait a minute now. I'm from about 75 miles west of here over in Macomb. So what you got here today is 2 old South Mississippi boys just a picking and a grinning. It was a lot of fun. But Yancy, Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America's on with us. He just won the award. Let me bring it back up here. Ken Capps is the University of Texas Moody College of Communication Alumnus of the Year Award. That entitles him to a free lunch or breakfast and an M16. That's a meat and 16 sides at the Beacon in Oxford, Mississippi. As Jerry Clower would say, oh, son. How is everybody? This coffee is good stuff, man. I don't know what's in it. Could be motor oil, Quaker State. Hell, I don't know.
Well, Ken, I was listening to you talking about the backup quarterback at Texas. Was going to get an opportunity this weekend, Malik, with yours out. I think there's a lot of Ole Miss fans that are hoping he throws for about 20 touchdowns Saturday and has all the success he can and give Manny a second chance to come back home.
That's right.
I can promise you that. There's a big discussion about it on the message board yesterday. I got tickled, and so everybody is still hopeful that somehow, some way they could get Arch back here to Oxford.
Well, if and this is on the message board too over here. Arch could play in 4 games this year and still redshirt.
Yeah, and that's a great rule. That ruling came after the 16 season when Freeze threw a fit because Chad Kelly had got hurt and he had to throw Shea Patterson in for 1 game against A&M at the end of the season there. And Shea lost a year of eligibility for it. And so they made the rules change at the end of that season where players could play 4 games. But yeah, this season is going to be a remarkable finish, I believe. We got the 4-game playoffs, the very last year that we get this 4-game. Thank goodness it goes to 12 game, but you literally have 9, 10 teams that are going to, at the end of the season, I believe, that are going to have an argument that they should be one of those four. Under normal seasons, you have two clear-cut teams that are cut above everybody else, and two more that are usually, not always, cut above everybody else as well, a little bit lower than Team 1A and 1B. But this year, there is going to be some fighting amongst the schools and the presidents and the ADs and the fans, because you're going to have about 9 teams that are going to make a stake a claim that they should be in that 14 playoff.
Yep.
No,
I
the good
agree
thing
with you
is,
100%.
yeah, we're going to 12 next year. This is what's going to be fun. I'm going to throw both of these at y'all. Here it is. Buddy Burke, congratulations, Ken. MUS deserved. Look, I mean, I know, Ken, when the spotlight's on you, it's like, you want to deflect it away, but that's a really big honor. And, I mean, seriously, when I met you at Media Days, Yancy, and Bo knows this, I met Ken a year ago at Media Days, and what I remember was he was talking to Tim Tebow, and he was the only guy I saw that did this. He said, I just really have a lot of respect for you standing up for your Christian faith and being who you are. And I said, Audrey, I said, man, there was one reporter in the whole thing that said that to Tim. I said, I don't know Tim Tebow from Adam's House Cat. I think he's cool, but I saw that. But that's a big deal. And Yancy, you don't back down. Sound like we're at a Florida game at the end of the third quarter. We won't back down, but it's good to hear people standing up and saying what they're saying. But it's a hell of an honor to get, to be the alumnus of the year. I got another one that's just come in. I'm trying to find this one. And yeah, okay. Bob in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Kiffin is the best quarterback coach in America, along with Sarkisian. They were both on the staff at Alabama. I think. Does everybody agree with that, or let's bring that discussion up?
I can't too.
No, I totally agree with that. Everybody thinks that Lincoln Riley is in that group too, but after what Caleb Williams has done this year, I would knock him out of that group. I'm sure I'll get some pushback from the folks in Norman. Well, maybe not. I wouldn't get Norman. He's kind of got a bad rep in Norman these days, and he's kind of losing his rep in Southern California as well.
Plus, he's been sick this week. They think that they're trying to get Cliff Kingsbury a waiver from the NCAA to get him to promoted to from an analyst to an assistant coach, and the tight ends coach is the interim coach this week. So Riley's having problems. He's probably sick about that Utah loss, I guess.
Well, and he's sick. One of the teams that Yancey's talking about, having 10 or 12 teams that think they have a chance for the top 4. One of them is not going to be USC.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But I mean, you look, let's say hypothetically, Washington finishes undefeated. I don't know if any of y'all have spent much time watching the Pac-10. I have the last month. And it's still the same old Pac-10 in my eyes, outside of Utah. Their defense is like toilet tissue. I don't think any of those teams in the Pac-10 would finish in the top 4 or 5 teams in the Southeastern Conference. And they're saying the SEC, the narrative is that is down. And the reason that narrative is down, because there's not that one dominant team, right, that we've seen in the last few years. But that doesn't mean the conference is down. I can't really name a team outside of maybe Florida State and maybe Michigan that could come and battle for one of the top 2 or 3 spots in the SEC. I'm a firm believer that the SEC is going to deserve 2 spots in the playoffs. And the question is are they going to be able to get those 2 spots?
Right. Well, and you look at Alabama. We talked about this. We talk about Alabama all the time, as you know, and everybody thought Alabama was dead and buried after that loss to Texas. And they're right in the thick of it now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they got that secondary is unbelievable. at Alabama. They continue to have problems in pass blocking. Their quarterback, Milrose, continue to have problems in reading defenses, but he's getting better.
Yep.
And they are most definitely one of the top 4 teams. Now, if they lose a game or two, that's going to probably knock them out. But, name 4 teams that you think would beat Bama on a neutral field right now.
Right.
There's no way you can name 4, right? It's going to be a fascinating ending here. I mean, I think Florida State's going to go undefeated. I think that's one. But I mean, we saw Florida State, win on a hellacious way at the end of the Boston College game. There, we saw Florida State. If Riley doesn't go down for Duke, they were on the ropes there at home. So you never know with that situation. And then, you got a situation with Michigan. I mean, this could be the biggest cheating scandal. And I'm talking about literally not paying players. People consider that cheat. That didn't give you because everybody literally was paying players always. So that didn't give you an edge competitive on game day. What does give you an edge is knowing what the signal's going to be. So, I mean, this was such a widespread, allegedly, and it looks like it's more than allegedly. This was such a widespread cheating scandal they had. Do they deserve to be in this year? Should they be taking out of the playoff picture? Will Michigan self-impose a postseason ban this year with hopes that maybe the NCAA will go light on them and maybe save Jim Harbaugh's job over there? You don't know what's going to happen with Michigan.
Yeah, you know what I read though, guys, and I thought this was very interesting. Do you know that it is not illegal to steal signals? It's unethical.
It's unethical, right?
But it's not an NCAA violation.
Well, it is an NCAA violation to send, and it's an infraction 1 to send coaches to other stadiums to go steal signals.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought I read it.
So you can steal them there at the game that you're playing and you're looking at them, or on video or stuff like that you have on your own. But it is a major.
Oops.
Mom.
Oh, that was me. There we go. Yancy?
They lost you there for a second.
I'm not.
Okay. Yancy, you there? Sound like that Who song. Tommy, can you hear me? Tommy, can Yancy, come back to us. Breaker 19. How about you out there, Yancy? You got it on the double nickel. We got 5 bears on the side taking radar. You there, Yancy? Well, hopefully Yancy will be back with us. I'm going to throw this at you. I talked with a coach anonymously who's coached at a Power 5 school a couple of days ago. He said, man, we've been stealing signals as long as signals have been being sent. He goes, we do everything in our power to do it. He goes, that's the way, it's kind of like duck hunting. You can't use an artificial, you can't dump 50 pounds of corn out, in front of your blind or your pit the morning of the hunt. You got to do it, X number of days or weeks ahead of that. You cannot artificially manipulate, the deals. There's things that you can and cannot do. But along the line of what Yancey's saying, what this coach said was, it technically, is it a rule? Well, you can't send people, like you said, specifically to do it. But if people just happen to notice things, they do.
Yeah,
and that's why you'll happen to notice things. Just, I happen to see that. But the bottom line is, it seems like there's a concerted effort to take out Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. I guess because he wears those birth control glasses or something. I don't know what it is. Get him some new glasses. But the guy's got Michigan back in elite, rare air, and Ohio State, maybe they don't like it. We've got Ohio State minders on every network, everywhere, always reminding us they could be 0-11 playing Michigan. Well, if it wasn't for the fact that they had no running game and no offense and the defense is not very good, they'd be undefeated. We have to hear that, Yancey. But as far as the spirit of the game, golly, people are always going to intercept signals. I mean, people killing deer, killing ducks, turkey. Hey, look, if a turkey could smell as well as he can hear and see, no one would ever kill a turkey.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. I just kind of want some other good to eat in there. Mm-hmm. Yancy, I think you're right, Yancy. Talk about it. Mm-hmm.
Well, my opinion is that if you're heady enough at a game to get the signals and notice what they're sending in with their cards and everything else, and you can outfox them and figure out what's going on, fine. But you can't send coaches to other games or practices and film it and pre-chart it before the games and literally know what all the signals they're sending in. I don't know if any of y'all saw what the spread was of Michigan covering before the 5 years before the signal gate, as they're calling it now, I think they were 15 and 62, something against the spread, and then they flip-flopped it after that. TCU can't be happy, even though they won that game. They found out that Michigan was doing that and changed all their signals, and that really messed Michigan up. But I mean, they were not only sending the coach over there, and you can see him now. They got video of him on the charts during the games, sending it into the coaches what the signals are going to be. To me, that's the biggest cheating of all. I mean, I don't care about paying players or a kid, gets an ACT test that, goes and takes it as, at some place where you get to take it orally and he gets a passing grade or something like that. That is more of the integrity of the game than any other allegation to me.
Very unethical. Very unethical.
It is. And I don't think, and me personally, I don't think Michigan should be eligible for the playoffs this season under any circumstance.
Well, we'll see if the NCAA has enough guts to do something about it.
Well, they're after him. It looks very similar to Freeze when he was at Ole Miss, the way that they were just, on his feet the whole time. And that's, I mean, when the NCAA has their eyes on you, they're like a pit bulldog. They're not going to let go. And something's going to come out of it before season's end.
And Rob, I saw two stories, and Yancy, you've probably seen the same thing, Ken. With all the audio and everything else on ball games, you honestly can sit there and get a Stallions guy or something like that and analyze the whole thing, snap counts. I've seen 4 or 5 deals in college and high school games this year where they've called illegal procedure penalties on the defense for calling signals and drawing the offensive line. That's a point of emphasis with the officials. So, and one coach said this has been going on for years. I mean, you've got audio, video, and really all the sophisticated, high tech stuff going on. I mean, you can watch every ball game and kind of figure out what when somebody says green 93, it's going to be an audible, hand off to the right or something.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's pretty easy.
Another good point about this is that the NCAA is going to allow teams participating in this year's bowls to use communications technology in the helmets. This is going to be the first time they're going to allow that. And in fact, Saban was talking about this the other day in his press conference, and he's all for this. And, this has been around a long time. The NFL has been doing this for 30 years. And for some reason, they haven't allowed this in the NCAA. They're going to allow this for the first time. And Saban was very clear about this the other day. He goes, you let teams use this coach to player technology in the helmets. All that sign stealing will be a thing of the past.
Well, I think one of the deals that I got to throw it at y'all, and there's a lot of stuff coming in on my text line. I'm trying to type it in, but I want to throw this one at y'all. This is an interesting. A few weeks ago, we're watching on TV the Maryland-Ohio State game. Mm-hmm. I think Maryland was an 18 and a half point dog at the Shoe playing Ohio State. They're down by 20, I think and they've got the ball with 57 seconds left, and Maryland is driving, and they punt with 57 seconds left down by 20. I mean, forget about it. You know, I mean, I just think about, Tommy, what's the guy's name in Goodfellas? And that's Jimmy 2 times. And where's the paper? Where's the paper? I mean, that's got mob written all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there not national outrage? Because I can assure you, if that happened at an SEC school, they would be demanding a congressional inquiry and calling the coaches up before a congressional panel. I mean, am I on to something, or are y'all, I don't wear a tinfoil hat, but that just didn't look right. Yeah, that didn't look right.
No, it doesn't. There's so much gambling money involved all over. And that's what, to me, is I think it just comes down to Jim just trying to get an edge on the competition. But what if there is something going on, with gambling situations, with all this signal stuff? But, they were, and another interesting article came out late last night, was talking about that Michigan was sharing some of this information with the signals with some other teams that were playing those schools that they had stolen the signals. Of course, Jim in Michigan is claiming this volunteer assistant at
somebody
Michigan
else
is doing it all on himself. He went to 46 ball games, 30 Big Ten, 16 non-conference, paid for tickets right behind the bench.
Yes.
Flew there, stayed in hotels, all that for less than $18,000 a year salary. So I couldn't even afford doing anything like that. I don't know anybody that could.
Right.
But yeah, does this get down to some gambling stuff? And that's going to be the interesting thing that plays out. I said just a minute ago, before these allegations came out, Michigan was covering at about a 25% rate for 5 years. And that since then, they've been covering at an 83.7% rate. So, there's who knows where this is going to lead to.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I'm kind of speechless about the whole thing because, I can't believe that the Big Ten hasn't said anything about it. Maybe I've missed it. But I just saw one of our fans wrote in and said that Michigan may have to forfeit some games. If all this is true and can be documented and, they find out that Michigan indeed knew about it, I think they should forfeit some games.
Well, we just got a little sound clip from that assistant, that volunteer assistant that did all this on his own. We've got a quote here. Let me play that sound bite. Hold on. Let me bring. They found this assistant. I had it on mute. I'm sorry. Here it comes. The soundbite.
What did you doing in the uniform? Oh, you went too far. I must report this. It would be worth my life if I do not report this. It's only until tomorrow, and he's going to take it off again. He steals the tank. Oh, in the Panzer Division. Oh, brings it here into the barracks. Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even warning.
So Sergeant Schultz, I know nothing. He just voluntarily showed up at that game. I mean, this is getting to be comical. Judge Schmelz at Bushwood Country Club. Is he going to eat it or not when he picks his nose? Look, don't sell Michigan short. They're one hell of a slouch. We lost Ken Capps there. Don't know what happened to Ken Capps. I know nothing.
Rob, give me your top 4 right now.
My top 4 are Florida State, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Georgia.
I'd probably agree. You might sneak somebody. Hey, Utah might be a latecomer after there, but hey, and Yancy, watch out for the Rebels, man. If they can get past the Fighting Commodores. And by the way, Yancy, I was going to have you wave a white flag in the middle of the third quarter tomorrow.
Well,
Vanderbilt with their 25 turnovers in 8 games.
Hey, this is, guys, I'll throw it at you. I think Ole Miss, this is what I was going to say. We lost Ken. I'm not sure what happened, but anyway, wow. Ole Miss, I've been watching them. Brock Kreitz is going to be on the show with us in the morning, my friend that played at Ole Miss 93 to 97. Because I think he and Walker Jones were on that team, the last one that beat Georgia over in Athens. They don't play them every year, but Ole Miss is a team, if they win out, and LSU beats Alabama, then they will go to Atlanta. Is that correct, gentlemen?
No, it goes to the team because all the tiebreakers, it goes to G. It goes all the way to G for a 3-team tiebreaker. Who gets the edge, and you take your 2 Eastern Conference opponents that you play, and you add their SEC record up, and the one with the best record of those 2 would go to Atlanta. And right now, that looks to be LSU.
Hey, Yancy, how about an Ole Miss Missouri SEC championship? Wouldn't that would be the
that
would be the game breaker of all time? Which, I mean, it's still a mathematical possibility.
Well, you're going to find out a lot about Georgia. I still think Georgia is one of the top 4 teams undoubtedly, but with the schedule, they haven't played anybody up to this point. With Missouri and Florida and Ole Miss and Tennessee, I think 4 games in a row.
Yeah.
So a lot of questions are going to be answered with that. If Ole Miss were to win at Georgia and become the first team in 3 years, and they're left out of Atlanta, I think they deserve to be, one of those 4 teams to get in. They've got the number 4 conference schedule in the country right now, and you win at Georgia. How can you be left out?
Yeah, if Ole Miss ends up 11-1, and LSU does what they do, they beat Alabama or whatever, they still, if they're 11-1 with that schedule, I'm tossing Oklahoma. Because their strength of schedule is not what Ole Miss is. And I'm being objective, not just because Yancey's on here. I'm telling you, that's what I believe. And I think you've got to reward people for strength of schedule. People are rewarded for going to medical school. They call them doctors. Okay, we don't get participation trophies for people who get first aid merit badge and claim to be doctors. No, Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies, that's a different story. You can argue with her if you want to. But I think if Ole Miss finishes 11-1, they have to be in the playoffs. And that's all the more reason if they're not, that next year, the 12-team playoff, that's why we're going to that. It's not watering it down. We're not giving out participation trophies. I mean, Lane Kiffin and Yancy told me this about they were zone blocking last year. They were man. They flipped the script after that Alabama game. That was a big deal. It hated for them that they lost, but Yancy, you were dead right about that. And by the way, Quinshon Judkins' family was having a ball at the Auburn Ole Miss game last week. Only had to drive 35 minutes to the game from their house. Hello, Auburn in Alabama. You didn't even offer this kid, but no, I digress.
I thought about you that whole game watching Judkins.
I bet you
run,
did.
And you just shaking your head going, why in the world would Auburn not make him priority number 1? But there's only been one SEC team with 1 loss that did not get in the playoffs, and that was A&M during the COVID year when they played 7-8 games. So the precedent has been set that a 1-loss team gets into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And look at the first year, too. Yancey remembers this. Ohio State was kind of squeezed in with 1 loss. Baylor and TCU both had 1 loss, and the Big 12 didn't have the championship game. They called it off for about 7 or 8 years, and then Ohio State's the number 4 seed and wins the national championship. So I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility at all.
It'll take a season or 2 for Michigan to forfeit if it comes down to it, says Shoney in Valdosta, Georgia. It's going to be fun to watch, guys. We've run out of time, unfortunately. Awesome show. Yancy, love having you on here with the Texas duo. Let's do it again next Friday.
Let's do it.
Man, I love what because you get stuff outside of your comfort zone when you listen to Sidelines. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. You know what? We the people, it says in the preamble to the Constitution, not we the government. Don't ever forget that. Go out and do kind words, kind deeds, help people out. I cannot thank the people who help me enough every day. So give back as often as you can. Catch Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, Monday night, 6 p.m., Sports 56 WHBQ in Memphis, and Super Talk Mississippi. Ken, Bo, how can they follow you? We lost Ken. I think the censors, the minders got him. But anyway, how do they follow you, Bo?
Sports Page DFW, the Texas Sports Daily, and Bo Carter 52 on X, formerly Twitter.
What do we? And now you don't retweet something. You you react it. Yeah, I love that. All right, what size do you wear? X. Okay, there we go. All right, hey, great time. We'll be back on. We got a packed house tomorrow. We're going to have a blast. World's largest outdoor cocktail party tomorrow, Florida and Georgia. We got a lot to talk about, and we're going to do it. Everybody have a great day. We are out of here.